So Parveen Jain is the founder, CEO, and chairman of Arihanta Institute and the author of An Introduction to Jain Philosophy. He had an exciting career of over 30 years as founder and chief executive of multiple technology companies and a senior executive role at McAfee, the cyber security company. And in 2014, he retired from active corporate life to devote his full time to philanthropic activities. Parveen has always cherished philanthropy and has held leadership roles in various nonprofit organizations. He has been a longtime trustee of the International Mahavira Jain Mission, where he has been deeply involved with the growth of Siddhachalam, the first Jain Tirtha outside of India from its founding. He led the team to build the Jain Temple in the San Francisco Bay Area, has served as chairman and president of the Jain Center of Northern California, and continues to be an active advisor. Previously, he was a founding director of the Sunnyvale Hindu Temple, served as a trustee of the American Foundation for the Blind, was a founding team member of the South Asian Heart Center, and served as a founding director of Stanford Center for Asian Health Research and Education, Stanford Care. Parveen is most passionate about furthering the initiatives inspired by Acharya Sushil Kumar in the service of the Jain tradition, that is, promoting the message of nonviolence, creating Jain educational platforms, and applying Jain principles to everyday life among the growing global Jain community for current and future generations. So we welcome Dr. Parveen Jain, our keynote speaker, to launch this Compassion in Action conference. The title of his keynote speech is The Significance of Compassion in Jain Tradition. Parveen, over to you.
Jai Jain, thank you very much, Chris. I'm going to share my screen. Can you see it all right, Chris?
Yep, it looks great.
Perfect. Thank you very much once again, Chris and our team, as well as all the attendees. I just want to point out that around 350 people have registered for this conference. So we have a lot of good company and clearly shows there is a lot of interest in compassion in action. So we look forward to hearing from you all the comments and feedback, as Diana mentioned again. We want to make it very interactive. This conference is co-sponsored by Oberoi Foundation, and we are very thankful to them. In my talk, I'm going to take a few minutes to talk about the significance of compassion, as the title says, but I also want to take an opportunity to update you and give you some feedback, sort of information on Arihant Institute itself. I think there is a lot of progress we have made, and we want to make contributions in collaboration with all of you. So we'll talk about that as well. So compassion for Jain tradition, compassion and non-violence, Karuṇā and ahiṃsā, they go hand in hand. Okay, what comes first is obviously we can think about it, we can research that, we can write thesis on that. But in my simple view, what I look at it is the emergence of Karuṇā essentially helps us negate the feelings of violence or thoughts of violence. And then that gives rise to ahiṃsā, which is the bedrock of Jain philosophy. In some way, we can say it's the natural outcome of the feelings of compassion that we feel for others and for ourselves. And in Jain Dharma, this is a very, very important aspect, and I'll talk a little bit about that going forward. Compassion is talked about and is important in all traditions. Various traditions look at it in their own ways. Christianity obviously emphasizes love, mercy, selfless service as a service to the God. So does Islam. In Islam, Allah is considered the most merciful, and the followers are urged to show kindness and care to all that is created by Allah. Judaism has the same thing. It just commands its own followers to emulate through acts of justice, charity, and loving kindness the acts of the God. And Sikhism is very popular in India. They are all devoted to Daya and Seva, devotion, kindness, and service. I mean, they are very famous for their uh, activities and their gurudwaras or the religious sanctuaries, and they are totally devoted to that. The dharmic traditions, Buddhism, Hinduism, and Jainism, all of them emphasize compassion, uh, and it's a way to get to uh, sort of the purest form of yourself. All of these traditions emphasize that. But when it comes to Jain Dharma, that little subtle difference that comes is that in Jain Dharma, the emergence or the activities related to compassion are related to the self itself. Okay, it's not through the intervention of any divinity or any sort of godly entities. It the humans, us, we have to sort of work hard and inspire ourselves with the teachings of our Tirthankaras and Acharyas and all that. But at the end of the day, it comes from within ourselves. So that's an important thing because our path to liberation, because we are independent entities as souls, our path to liberation is all dependent on how we work at it. Uh, in Tattvārtha Sūtra, uh, there is a sutra that says matrī-pramoda-kāruṇya-mādhyasthyāni cha sattva-guṇādhika-kaliśamānâ-vineyeṣu, which says that the four essential cultivations, four essential virtues are important for us to make any progress towards spirituality. And even if we want to follow the five essential vows that we have to develop these four qualities. And what are the four qualities? Friendliness towards all living beings, pramoda, delight in others' merits, and that's a quality that makes us equitable with everything around us. Karuna, the compassion for the sufferings, and madhyastha, just maintain a neutral, balanced demeanor for everything around us. Don't get agitated when you see something don't like. Don't get overly joyous when you see something that pleases you. So I think these four essential uh, bhāvanās are the ones that are important for our progress towards the spiritual emancipation. Now, compassion in action, from what I have studies, and you can consider this as my view, we have the feeling of empathy, first of all, which is when we look at somebody suffering or somebody not in a good situation, we feel for them. And the thought occurs to us that I should do something to help them. Once that thought occurs, we have the emergence of compassion, which relates to the other's sufferings, and we want to do something about it. And that is where we get the negation of ahiṃsā. The violence in ourselves goes away, and we are in a status where we want to help our fellow living beings or environment. And finally, we put this feeling of compassion into action, karuṇā-kriya. This is where we resolve, okay, I have these feelings, I know somebody is suffering, some even the environment is suffering, I want to do something about it. Okay, I want to help alleviate others' sufferings. And this is what compassion in action comes into being. Compassion is a living expression of ahiṃsā. I've sort of talked about it already. And it comes from Parasparograho Jīvānām. It's a age-old saying that all of us are familiar with, that all living beings are interconnected and interdependent. But when we have clarity on that understanding that all of us and the environment are interconnecting and we support each other, that is where I feel that I need to work together with everybody. And that is where the compassion comes into our thoughts and our actions. Uh, and that is where the expression of compassion and mutual care occurs. The basic philosophy is that all jivas are capable of getting to moksha status. So, in that sense, all of us are equal. What we see as an ant today, in few lives, it could be a human being. What I see as an enemy today, from few lives from now, or even previous lives, they could be my closest friends. And who knows which one of us jivas is going to get to the end stage. So that creates a sense of respect, a sense of a kindness, a sense of compassion towards everything around us. And then in dharmic traditions, we all talk about ahiṃsā paramo dharma, which is non-violence is a supreme virtue. Many times we translate that virtue as religion, but truly speaking, dharma is a virtue. And all of us want to aspire to get the virtuous qualities in ourselves. And for that purpose, non-violence in thought, speech, and actions is very critical. That is what ahiṃsā is, right? Ahiṃsā is non-violence in thought, speech, and actions. And this is guided by, our actions are guided by maitri-pramoda-kāruṇya and madhyasthatā, as we talked about it. Okay. These four qualities are essential. They are fundamental requirements for us to get rid of or get a control over the kashayas, the four delusional enemies that we have towards our existence, which are krodh, man, maya, lobh, anger, ego, deceit, and greed. If you really think about it, these are the greatest enemies. And we need to conquer over that. All our Tirthankaras ultimately conquered over all these things to really get to the stage that they wanted to stay. All of us understand that all of our actions create karmic bondage, which means that sooner or later I'll have to pay for my bad deeds and I'll have to earn some goodness out of my good deeds. So if we keep that in mind, we become peaceful, kindful, and compassionate towards everything around us. This has been in Jain traditions always. It starts from Tirthankaras, and even today we have our great acharyas and teachers who talk about this and try to teach us this thing. Lord Neminatha, our 22nd Tirthankar, he was on his way to wedding with Rajul. Over there, he heard some cries of some animals, and he inquired what is going on. And he was told that these are the animals who are crying for help because they're going to be sacrificed for the feast today. And that is what triggered thoughts in him, and that what kind of joy demands a feast of flesh and blood. I mean, this was a thought that came to his mind when he's standing near the wedding altar. And he decided, let my joy be in the sanctuary of the frightened, which is the animals at that stage, and refuge for those in despair. He decided right at that moment to renunciate and become an ascetic. And that is when he started his penance towards his path to moksha. So that's it's a if you I cannot go over the story, don't have time, but if you find time, read this story. It's just amazing, inspirational story for us to learn how life changes in just one moment. Mahavir's life, which is an historical figure for us, uh, is filled with, and we are all have studies, a lot of his experiences with compassion and how he lived with compassion all his life. And this is his last life as as a human being before he attained moksha. During his penance, 12 years of penance, he went through a whole number of episodes where a lot of violence was inflicted on him. Okay, it started with Chandakaushika, the large serpent, and then uh, uh, towards the end of his penance, a cow herd actually because of some misunderstanding on managing his cows, he thought Mahavir Swami did not support him. So Mahavir Swami did not hear him and did not support him. So he put nails into his ears. And we can imagine the tremendous pain that causes. And then along the way, there was Sangama who tried all kind of things, from putting ants on his body and bringing in ferocious animals and even devilish figures and all that. But during all those experiences, Mahavir Swami remained calm. And the only thought he had was, they are inflicting these sufferings on me. I am here to suffer because of my previous lives' doings, what I did. But I really feel for these people who are going to suffer in their coming lives because they have become the sort of conduit for causing this pain to me, which they could have avoided if they wanted. But now they have done it, so they are going to suffer in their future lives. And that's the level of compassion that he had, although he's went through all these sufferings through these people. And then there is an episode of Chandan Bala, uh, again, his last years of his penance. This is very interesting. What I talked about is his compassion, sort of passive compassion towards the others. But this is a case where he put compassion into action in his own ways. Okay. Again, Chandan Bala's story is just tremendous story, worth reading. But he knew what was going on. So he took a vow that I'm going to remain without any food or water until I find a person, a young lady who has been balded, who is bald, is in chains, has not eaten for many days, and has grams in her hand to eat, and she has tears in her eyes. So he went around every day for his alms, for bhiksha. He went around, could not satisfy his condition, did not share these conditions with anybody. He kept it to himself. But along the way, when he was going through these things, hundreds and thousands of people started following him, trying to understand why he's not eating. So they were trying to understand, and they were sort of spreading the message that Mahavir is not eating or taking any water. Something is going on, and he went on and on and on for 175 days. But when he finally met Chandan Bala, who met all the conditions except one, she did not have tears in her eyes. So he went to her, did not see the tears, and then he wanted to walk away. Chandan Bala started crying when she saw a great ascetic is not accepting her alms. He turned around and saw the tears, and that's when he accepted. And that is when he disclosed why he was doing things. What he did was his action against slavery at that time, his action against women discrimination, cruelty towards women, his action against how the society was behaving, that included caste system and all that. So through his own person perseverance and penance of not eating for 175 days, he illuminated the way to people how to put compassion in action. This is a tremendous story that I would recommend. If you don't know it, read about it, and read it from the perspective of learning why he did what he did, not just as a story. In modern days, we have Srimad Rajchandraji, through his Atma Siddhi and Mokshmala. He has given some beautiful messages to us, how to bring uh, compassion, anukampa in our life. He says, he who is awakened, when we say awakened, when we understand the relationship in body and soul, when we understand, we have a clarity of little bit of clarity of Samyak Darshan. When we understand soul is separate from the body, that is a state of awakening. He who is awakened has boundless love for all beings. He uplifts without discrimination. His heart is full of compassion. So Srimad Ji has, if we read Atma Siddhi, his teachings, one after the other, are directed towards compassion, towards others. And then if you look at Everybody knows Mahatma Gandhi, how he lived his life in peace, kindness, although he was in quote unquote political campaign, but he still was very strong follower of peace, ahiṃsā, and compassion. Some of his sayings, he who thinks of suffering humanity will not think of himself. There's a beautiful saying. When we have compassion towards humanity or other beings, we wouldn't have time for ourselves because we are filled with how I find ways to help other beings. The simplest acts of kindness are by far more powerful than thousand heads bowing in prayer. This is again beautiful. Okay, how he emphasizes we should become compassionate in the service of others, which in some sense could be better than in the service of the God. So these are beautiful sayings from some tremendous teachers that we can learn a lot from. Examples of compassion in action at personal level, obviously compassion towards ourselves first, because if you're not compassionate towards ourselves, we are not going to be truly compassionate towards the others. So it starts from within. It starts within ourselves. And in our compassion in action program that the Health Institute has put together, that's an important factor. How do we become compassionate to ourselves? Cognizant of repercussion of karma collection. That's important. And I think all of us know who follow Jain Dharma that we want to exit this life. And one of our friends, Dinesh Kothari, used to say, we want to exit our life with net zero karma. Okay. But I would go even further. Let's go a little positive karma. Okay. And way to do that is through compassion and our sort of care for everything around us and ourselves. Some of the things Jains have been following are vegetarianism and veganism, vigilant, and I'm very sort of happy to report a lot of younger Jains are following veganism lifestyle. Uh, we have, and then vigilant of the items with higher value, life value. It's very important in Jain philosophy. What do we eat? Even if when we are consuming vegetables, what type of vegetables should we eat? Practice to avoid harming small micro life. That is because we are taught to eat before the sunset, and after sunrise, uh, and then restrained consumption. That's very important. Aparigraha. We don't want to waste. So if you look at many of the Jain followers, they they clean up their plate, actually wash it and drink that because they don't want to waste even a milligram or a little a speckle of food that they have been served. In social interactions, ahiṃsā in thought and action is very important, thoughtful, peaceful, simple, and restrained. Two ways of forgiveness. Ask for forgiveness when we know that when we have done a mistake, when we have hurt somebody, and I think we should be strong enough to ask for forgiveness. But when we ask for forgiveness, we follow it, and then the act of giving forgiveness. In my view, giving forgiveness is even more difficult than asking for forgiveness because when you forgive somebody, you have to totally dissociate yourself with whatever caused that anger in you. Okay, ahiṃsā in speech, that is anekāntvāda. All of us learn about it. We need to practice that in life. Ahiṃsā in possessiveness. Okay, restrained attachment, accumulation of materials. Our strict followers, our acharyas and religious leaders, they actually say uh, uh, non-possessiveness, but as human beings living in regular life, non-possessiveness is impossible. So let's minimize it, whatever we can do. And then the spatial activities that we do, let's minimize that as well. In our societal life, seva, daya, dana, and tyaga. These are four essential dharmas that we all follow in Jain tradition. Animal advocacy, Panjra poles and vegetarianism, veganism, as I talked about earlier. Annadan is very important. medical camps and healthcare, health camps, hospitals, medical supplies, and whatever is needed to provide healthcare and medical services to others, humanitarian aid, homeless shelters, uh, help during natural catastrophes like earthquakes or tsunamis and flooding and all that. Environmental advocacy. We are, as humans, we are mistreating our environment in the worst possible way. I think paying attention to that is important. Forgiveness and compassion in business interactions. I think our leaders, not only business, all leaders, political leaders, business leaders, can learn a lot from compassionate lifestyle. How do I practice anekāntvāda? I mean, a lot of the things that we are seeing in recent past probably would be much less than if we were practicing compassion towards others, even in leadership. For Jains, aggressive activism is not preferred. We usually don't get into that. It's always out behind the scenes or even front of the scenes. We help each other in different ways. Okay. Uh, so this is the conference that we are discussing in details. But what I just described to you is pretty much table of contents of this conference that you're going to see, which is you're going to hear from the people who have learned this academically as well as theoretically. They want to share what is compassion in action. And equally important, we are going to hear from people who actually have been very active in services to humans, animals, environment. We're going to hear that. So I think these 2 days, today and tomorrow, are going to be very interesting. We're going to hear from people who have something to share with us in terms of engaging discussions and all that. We're going to hear from people who have tremendous experience and observations from their in-field activities. So stay with us, and if some people have not registered, you could ask them to register because this is going to be a very exciting conference of 2 days. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to switch my gears a little bit, spend a few minutes to talk about Arihant Institute. By the way, as Diana said it earlier, feel free to send us questions, and we will respond to the best of our abilities. Uh, we have been around for 3 years, and 3 years have been very exciting journey. Uh, if you see from where we started, actually in April 22, to be specific, 14th April 22 is when we launched. We had about 15, 18 months of preparation before that, between three, 4, 5 of us. But we launched it in April 2022, and it has been just exciting journey. And the way we are bringing out the messages of ahiṃsā and kindness around the world, we have learned a lot ourselves along the ways. Okay, and that has been by hearing back from our students, from our audiences and all that, that has been very, very helpful. Engage Jain studies is something our faculty, I would say, Chris Miller, thought of this because there are a lot of institutions which have tremendous teachings on Jain principles, Jain values, everything. But now the world, particularly the younger world and the people who are not grown up with Jain tradition, they want to learn how to take these Jain principles, Jain values, and apply into my daily life. And that is the Engage Jain Studies program that we came up. And within that, we have we have to learn and teach fundamental Jain studies in terms of philosophy, anthropology, and history. And we are paying a lot of attention towards that. But then over the last couple of years, we have started 3 very interesting campaigns or initiatives. Vegan Studies Initiative for compassion towards the animal world. Many times they are not taken care of because they cannot speak. They cannot, actually, in some ways, they even communicate. We just don't pay attention to that. So our Vegan Studies Initiative promotes veganism, animal advocacy as profound expression of kindness and compassion towards other living beings. Compassion Studies Initiative and Vegan Studies Initiative is started last year. Compassion Studies Initiative is started this year to bring human to human and self-directed compassion as a powerful response to most pressing contemporary challenges. And all of us know what is going on in public life. We need to bring out the teachings of compassion and share with people how to incorporate that in life, day-to-day life. Center for the Study of Jain Yoga. I mean, yoga has been, tremendous amount of work has been done on yoga for centuries, but Jain Yoga has not seen as much sort of not applications, but teachings or understanding as it should have. So this program is designed to illuminate Jain Yoga's unique contribution to the broader field of yoga studies. And we are, for all of these 4 areas, we have graduate seminars in collaboration with the Claremont School of Theology, and I'll talk about that. Short, self-paced, self-study courses that we offer. We have about 55, 60 courses now, covering various subject areas, various topics. I'm sure if you look for it, you'll find a handful that you really associated with. Conferences. This is our 4th conference, public conference. There is a private conference also we held, speaker series, publications, and then our faculty in collaborations with other scholars and academicians. We are publishing books and articles, podcasts, conference presentations, and many, many more. So we are active in all the ways that an educational institution should be. So 2 things I want to talk about. First is this slide. We want to engage global students. Okay. This is our way of saying that we want to democratize engaged Jain studies, bring it around the world. We want to reach the global audience who are interested in these teachings by breaking barriers, religion, faith, background, gender, age. And you'll see that both for short courses as well as graduate seminars, we have students from the age of around 10 years old all the way mid-70s. We have students with all faith backgrounds. And we tell people, you can follow Jain teachings, you can engage with Jain teachings, you can apply Jain teachings without having to leave your faith. Continue with your faith, because these teachings is going to affect your life in a positive way, day-to-day life, no matter what. So the areas we are focusing on is MA in Engaged Jain Studies, which is accredited MA degree in partnership with Claremont School of Theology, tremendous partners. We just love them. And I think we have a very strong relationship with them. And we offer online synchronous teaching, allowing different university students to attend. So the students don't have to be just Arihant student or CST students. They can come from anywhere and take our graduate seminars. Self-paced courses for people who are interested in on-demand teaching. So they can spend half an hour. These are anywhere from 4 hours to 20 hours courses, but they can take in snippets of half an hour at a time, take the course, attend half an hour, and then do whatever you're doing, come back, go next half hour. And you can go back and forth. This is for non-degree seekers, obviously, but even for degree students, both in undergraduate and graduate studies, they could be supplemental teachings. And we are in conversation with some universities where even these courses can be bundled with the assistance from the professors as a credited course. But that's a special program. Then we have been doing conferences. Our first conference was defining applied Jain studies. Second one was ahiṃsā vegan conference. That conference tell you how vegan lifestyle is becoming popular. We had 500 attendees. Our limit was 500. So perhaps many more just could not register in that. So that was tremendous conference. And then yoga in Jainism conference that we held. And then we are in our fourth conference today, Compassion in Action conference. You can see that all these subjects, they're all designed to apply to our daily life. So we can learn and teach each other how do we apply these principles. And then we had a private conference-only conference, scholars-only conference, sorry, anekāntvāda in critical academic research. And then we have speaker series. On our website, you can see all the details, and they're all on the programs that we talked about. And that includes very specific programs like we have in Europe, or it could be just one of a webinar that we invite people to give us. And we are bringing multiple faiths into the speaking series as well. And these are all no cost events, conferences and other programs that we have open to public. And all of these are recorded and they are available afterwards as well. The second point I wanted to make is not only we want to invite global students, we are inviting global scholars. You know that Jain community is a very small community and Jain scholars are very limited in the world. So we have to collaborate with each other. We have to network with each other. We have to support each other's research and scholarship and all that. And that is why we are working very hard to bring world scholars into our family of scholars. We have 3 of our own faculty members, professors, and then we are creating, so far we have about 42, 43 different educators who have come on our platform. So that's an invitation. Let all the scholars, let's get together and figure out the ways how to best bring these teachings to the world. Couple of updates I want to share with you. We recently announced our first endowment, Tirthankara Shiransanath Endowment Professorship in Vegan and Animal Advocacy Studies. It was gifted to us by Dr. Jaswant Modi, Mira Modi, and Dr. Namrata Patel and Nagit Tharani. Thank you very much. This is just tremendous sort of event for us to have our first endowment and many more to follow. There is interest in compassion studies. There is interest in yoga studies. So you're going to hear news on that from us in coming months. And then we are very proud to announce that Professor Jonathan Dickstein is our professor appointed to this endowment. I'm announcing a new program. I'm going to take another 2 or 3 minutes. Announcing a new program, membership program. This essentially is designed to enhance user ease and accessibility. We are working to come up with innovative methods that how do we bring these teachings in the most accessible ways to the people who are interested in these. So this is one of those programs that we are initiating. It's launching on May 1. So you'll hear about it through our emails and social media activities and all that. Very simple. Again, I don't want to go into these things. This is a very standard membership program that I'm sure you have enrolled in other areas as well. You start with a trial, 14-day trial. You start with, or you can then sign up for monthly membership or annual membership. We keep it very, very reasonable. I want to address that for us, it's more important to bring these teachings to the world rather than, I mean, generating revenue is important, but bringing these teachings is more important. So we are keeping it very reasonable so that anybody can sign up and take advantage of what we are bringing. Okay. Finally, in closing, I've talked about, I'll have 4 points, 4 key points that I want to make. First one is there is need for compassion in action studies. The world needs it. We are seeing how we are deteriorating our life day to day, month to month. So the more we can bring these teachings, more we can show how to not only learn these things, but how to deploy the teachings of compassion and ahiṃsā in their daily life, the better we will serve humanity and better we will serve ourselves. We have seen that over the last 3 years, there is widespread interest. Jain teachings are important because we emphasize on self-motivation, because no intervention from any divinity is coming. It's self-motivation towards compassion and ahiṃsā. So that is why these teachings are very important. We are seeing there is widespread interest. You can see that just one example I'm sharing with you in vegan studies. In 2024, we offered 10 courses, around 220 students registered for those courses. That's very impressive. And then we had 12 webinars from who is who in vegan world, and about 730 people attended those webinars. So it shows us there is interest. And I must confess, our reach is still limited because we are still learning how to reach the world through various sort of activities of social media and emails and personal contacts and all that. But even then, these numbers are very impressive. Collaboration is important. I just talked about that in last couple of slides. To accelerate proliferation of these teachings, we help each other, we help the world. And that's the thought I want to leave with you. We invite collaborations with students, obviously to send your students to work with us, to take our courses. And we invite scholars to work with us, come up with ideas to teach courses on our platform. We welcome everybody. Okay, so these are the 4 major thoughts I wanted to leave with you. I think, Chris, we still have about 10 minutes in case there is any question or something. Thank you very much, everybody. Really appreciate your attention.
Well, thank you so much, Parveen, for a comprehensive presentation on compassion in Jainism and Dharma traditions, really, as well as an overview of where we've gone in the short few years here at Arihanta Institute to be here with you all at this 3rd annual conference. So it gives me great pleasure now to moderate the Q&A. I'll be moderating the Q&As throughout this event. And we do have a couple of questions that I think you in particular might be able to answer, Parveen. I might save one for Kojin's talk later. I think it applies very much to his talk just because of the time constraints. But let me start by going through these other 2 that I think are really directed directly at the topic that you were discussing. So the first one is from Dilip Kapasi. It says, compassion in the Jain religion goes much deeper to include every life form, is a point not mentioned in your comparative analysis. Can you elaborate, please? Also, compassion at the expense of our own blood and sweat, setting the example of the king who saved a pigeon offering his own meat to the Baj bird. Thank you.
Yep. No, Dilip, I thank you very much for the question. I think throughout the presentation, I did talk about compassion towards ourselves, compassion towards other human beings, compassion towards animals, all living beings actually, and environment. These are all very important aspects. And actually, we go beyond through our aparigraha and all that. How do we even limit our own consumption in so many different ways? I totally agree with you. I mean, again, Jain teachings on ahiṃsā and compassion are much deeper than I could cover in this sort of overview that I did in the last 25, 30 minutes. But you're absolutely right. I mean, that is why I've said it repeatedly, we need to bring these teachings to the world because Jain teachings are directed towards ourselves. How do we become compassionate? How do we help our fellow beings, living beings and environment to bring more peace and kindness in this world?
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you. I think you really hit the nail on the head there with really what we're trying to do in this conference. So another question that I think is really pertinent to what you talked about, Parveen, and really pertinent to what's going on in the world right now is from Chaitanya, our graduate student, who says, Jajanendra, how can digital platforms best facilitate authentic, compassionate connections between people? So these digital platforms.
Yep. So Chaitanya, the digital platform in some way is God sent to us. we learned about it, the value of it in 2020 when Chris and I started talking about it. This is a platform that facilitates our reach globally. Okay, keep in mind we are an educational institution. We are not into activism. We are not into those things. All we can do is bring teachings. But what we have to focus on is teachings that everybody can understand and deploy in their life. And through digital platform, we have the access around the world. I didn't say it, but in our short courses, for example, we have students coming from 25 countries, 5 continents. And sometimes they come from the places we have not even thought about, we have not heard about it. They heard us, they wanted to take some courses with us, they wanted to learn new things, they want to attend our conferences. So we are seeing already attendees coming from everywhere to attend our programs. And I think that is the importance of digital uh, sort of platform that we can utilize. I'm hoping in near future, probably next year sometime, we can start addressing compassion in professional life and public leadership. We want to bring that because that is so badly needed in this world. The kind of greed, the kind of ego, the kind of pride that we are seeing, even if we start changing 1% at a time, that's a great achievement. I think we need to pay attention to that. And next year, we're going to do that. Thank you, Chaitanya.
And I think we might have time for one more question, Parveen. And I see one from our friend Dinesh Jain here in the chat. It says, Parveenji, kindly elaborate on madhyastha bhav. I guess it did not come out fully during your talk and is important for the topic of compassion. I know you mentioned it, but this is a kind of follow-up for that.
Yep. So madhyasthatā is equanimity. Okay. We develop a demeanor which stays balanced, which stays neutral to everything working. It's very difficult. When we see anger thrown at us, when we see tremendous joyous feelings coming towards, at that stage to stay equanimous is not easy. It takes a lot of practice. So equanimity is developing that sort of mindset and demeanor where we don't get agitated easily and we don't sort of start celebrating easily. We stay in the middle and balanced. Okay. And that helps us manage our anger. That helps us control our ego. And that helps us control our own deceit or even greed. So this is very important cultivation that is uh, taught and recommended in our culture.
Wonderful. We are coming close to time, Parveen, and I wanted to read one comment. We had a comment, thank you, from Agni Hogabom, who says, thank you, Dr. Parveen Jain. I can speak specifically to the excellence of the master's program, and the material and faculty are wonderful with regard to the master's degree that you mentioned that we teach in, and Agni is also one of our wonderful graduate students. So thank you, Agni, for making that comment. That's very kind. In the interest of time, we are coming up on the hour here. I really want to thank our CEO, Parveen Jain, for giving this wonderful keynote talk to get us launched, to help us understand compassion in the Jain tradition as a kind of bullet point list of what's going to come now for the rest of the conference, as well as an overview of where we've gone and where we're going with Arihanta Institute. So thank you so much, Parveen, for that. Jai Jinan.
Thank you. Jai Jinan.